off, how do we correctly pronounce your first name?
Yeah, good look. It's Edreece or Idris. Yeah.
Idris. That's what we figured it was one of the two.
Yeah, I mean the background there, bro, is that like it's traditionally Idris or Idris in Farsi. Um, but the family had an infatuation with the country Greece apparently, and so they adopted a different spelling that messed everyone up. But
You, all three of those are sick. All three of those are interchangeable. You just apply those as you need.
I changed my identity per conversation, man. It's great.
Like when you're in the boardroom, you can use Idris because that just sounds hella fly. Like your boss. When you're on the
Hmm.
soccer field, you can be,
Your
you can be.
MC name for sure is Ed Reese. Like that's a no.
Oh, 100, bro.
That's
If
it,
I
dude.
ever
Like,
if I ever started a fashion brand, it would be Ed Dash Reese,
oh yeah,
100%.
so sick.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you on the show. I don't know. I think this is episode 26, 27, maybe.
Okay.
Um, we know very little bit about you. We usually like to get folks on and we'll kind of research them
Hmm.
before we have them on.
We
But
did so we did so we always do a little homework though. We know some
Yeah.
things, right? You're findable on a Google search, right? So like
Yep.
some very cool stuff going on. What's the latest you've been up to as far as like some of your top things going on right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, quite frankly, number one, two, and three is Oakland Roots and Oakland Soul. You know, it's been a really incredibly busy time with the launch of the women's program that dropped a couple days ago, called Oakland Soul. So we're just been super busy with dealing with that rollout and launch, as it is something that, me personally, I've been very, very passionate about, given that my sister was a professional soccer player at the highest level possible. She played in the Serie A in Italy. She played in the Bundesliga. Um, and so, she's 7 years younger, but in a lot of ways, she was a big inspiration for me. And she was also the captain of the Afghanistan national soccer team. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the landscape there, but you know, it's just not right out there right now, and especially with the treatment of women. And so my little sister has been an advocate for women without a voice and has been a big pillar. So from the early days of Roots, 3, 4, 5 years ago now, like there was always a passion to try to develop a women's program and do it with intention and do it right. And so that's just rolled out this week. So we're deep in that. And then of course, we're in the middle of the season with the Oakland Roots, and we have a big rivalry tomorrow against Sacramento Republic. So it's just been really fun to see the project scale, bro. But that's kind of professionally one, two, and three, and personally, there's I picked up DJing a little bit, and that's like
DJ Ed Reese.
DJ. There you go, man. And that's been a little bit of a passion of mine, and music has always been. And I can't rap for shit. I can't sing for shit. And so, mixing music and curating music is really my thing. And so I picked that up, and it's like to spend time with the family and friends and stay active with the time I do have. But it's a little bit of the top things for me, man, for
you,
sure.
you, Dom, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that don't know, you're a part owner of the Oakland Roots, right?
Correct. Yeah, one of the co-founders, the chief marketing officer of the Oakland Roots. Plenty of co-founders in the group. This was I don't I don't look like Mark Cuban
Nah,
or
what?
Joe Lacob
You
or
definitely do,
you know
bro.
what I mean.
You're just young.
That's a
You're
good
not
thing.
like 50, dude. You're
Yeah.
like a young guy.
Yeah, and 32 and first generation Afghan American, born in Oakland, living downtown. I reside here. Family lives. A lot of my family live out here. So, this has really been a project centered around zagging while everyone else is zigging. You know what I mean? And with all due respect, I know you guys have the sporting caps on right now, but a lot of a lot of teams really like their values are what happens inside of the diamond or inside of the four squares or four sidelines. And for us, man, it's like, how do you transcend that and almost like break that barrier because sport is life. And a lot of brands like Nike and Adidas have really kind of piled onto that, right? It's like day to day, that the mom, picking up their kids and working 2 jobs, that's a sport. You know what I mean? And so how do we start thinking of sport differently, making it cool and hip? Like, other than a select few styles, I can't rock with a lot of the different stuff that the Warriors put out on, that while it's not game day, I only rock it on game day. So we started really thinking in the lens of like, how do you make this everyday wear? And how do you make people rock with this brand and identity beyond just the sport of soccer? You know what I mean? This is about Oakland. It's about diversity, the arts, the cultures. Like, you don't even have to be from here to rock with it, as long as you respect it and understand what we're trying to accomplish. It makes you a Oakland fan and it makes you a Roots fan. So yeah, that's been the premise. And it's been 4 years, kind of going from Division 4 to 3 to 2, and now we're in USL Championship. And for you guys, if you're not familiar with how like the soccer landscape works, it's kind of a trip, man. I mean, in Europe, what you have is promotion relegation. Are you guys familiar with that or no?
Yeah, and
Oh
Premier
yeah.
Yeah,
League, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Also,
exactly.
that Italian club soccer, Mike, is a very deep into that.
And not to
Yeah,
add, we
yeah,
bet Leicester City to win the Premier League when they had the heavy favorites. But
yeah.
we could talk about that later.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah, yeah,
about that later.
absolutely, man. So I mean, you guys get it. And it's like merit based, right? Like if
Right.
you win, you get up to the next division in the league. And if you win that, you keep going. And in American sport, that's completely different, right? In Europe, you have like community-based clubs that are like community assets. They grew with people when it was like dirt. It was like nothing, you know.
Yeah.
But for us, it's a bit different in that there's like franchise models and whatnot. So we had to operate within those parameters and that in the landscape to get to where we're at. But we're also mad grounded in trying to like build consciously and like not move too quickly and too fast, because then you start to forget your roots, for lack of better words. And so that like trajectory and growth is, I think, been the most interesting thing, is like, how do you keep going and build in the levels, but as like LL Cool J says, like more levels, more devils, so like that's the with everything, right? Everything in life, like you're always gonna face new shit and you gotta deal with it. But yeah, it's been fun, blessing for sure.
How do you, you mentioned you're a first generation Afghani. How do you get involved with soccer as a young kid, and
Hmm.
what gets you excited about the game as you're growing up and maybe playing?
Yeah, hell yeah. So, you know, first of all, brown people love soccer. so,
Oh,
so
dude,
I'll
our
start
dad's
with
from
that.
Sicily, dude. It's like it's in our
There
it's
you
in our
go.
blood.
Yeah, man. And mind you, mad respect for Italy, because not only did my sister play in Florence, but my wife and I got married out in Amalfi Coast, and I've been there many times. So
Sick. That is
yeah, so
Dom
like,
just got
unreal.
married in Sicily, dude.
oh, for
Yeah.
real?
In
Yep.
Palermo,
Congratulations.
where'd you guys get married in Amalfi? Like Positano or
That's right.
Positano?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
I know, bro.
dude.
It was like, I mean, this is super off topic, but like, I mean, Italy is something else, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on over there? Like, there's something different. And I learned too that people live hella long out there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so I started to dig into this. I got in a rabbit hole on YouTube about like, it's the food and it's the lack of gluten and it's the joy, I mean, we would go out to dinner, y'all, like we would go and we're accustomed like 30 minutes tops and you're out that shit. Man, people would be there for 4 hours having
Oh yeah.
conversations,
Oh yeah.
drinking bottles, enjoying life. And there's something about that that's infectious for me, man. Like the enjoyment of life and the sweetness of life for me out there is just like, oh my God, right?
See
So
how you're going in, you get in the
I'm
zone,
already turning
dude.
into
It's
it.
like,
Right
man,
on, right on.
dude, it is that place is magical. The
Mhm.
water, just the way it's on the cliffside. Farm to table is like it's the standard for them. It's yeah, you're right, dude. The food, people just enjoy the moment out there. It's a lot of different things. I'm sure you can't peg it down, but like the only thing they stress about is gossip and drama. That's it.
Oh,
Not
heavy.
like deadlines. Like you're never at the town square and they're like, I have a deadline tomorrow. No, it's not
Yeah,
like it's like, can you believe that their sister, they're dead, they're done to me, and then
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I, I I think that there's a beauty in that, man. I mean, I've always respected humans that can almost like cheat code the American mentality. You know, like out here, bro, we're always on deadlines. We're destination addicted, for lack of better words. Like once we get to a place, we're always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And it's never enough. But out there and in many other countries, like there's a sense of enough, right? Like I'm full, I'm not going to eat anymore. Or, I'm enjoying this moment and I'm not going to talk about what's happening tomorrow. Feel me? So, yeah, man. I mean, we can go on and on, but yeah, big love for Italy. And my favorite team ever, like ever, is actually Inter Milan. I'm rocking it right now. Like
Damn,
that's my,
bro.
I
You
know. I'm
made a
sorry if
mistake,
that's
That's
like,
a
dog. You need the
dagger.
Juventus jersey,
That's
dog.
a
Come
dagger to
on, dude.
Mike. That is like Mike is
I
dead
know.
inside right now.
Nah,
I
that's
know.
not
I'm
true, bro.
sorry, dude. You know,
Hey,
you know
dog.
that you know that NBA jacket that has all the different logos.
Yeah.
Like that's me with the Serie A, bro. Like I
Hey,
can rock every team and I'm good, but the Inter for me is up there for sure.
bro, we were out there in 2006 when Italy won the World Cup, and
Damn.
we brought 40-ounce bottles of beer to Sicily. And when they won the World Cup, we brought the 40s out for like Mickey's 40s out
Wow.
for
They were
celebration.
like, what is this
What
thing?
is
Why
this?
why is it so big of a beer? You know, like. Hey,
Yeah.
did you get to go see your sister play a lot when she was playing there at games and stuff, or no?
Fortunately not, bro. I mean, when she went to Santa Clara and she was a captain there, great program. Um, Never missed a game ever, but it was in the early stages of roots when she was out there playing, and with time and everything couldn't work. But I was blessed, man. She was moving from Florence to Duisburg, Germany, for the transition to Bundesliga, and I was able to, like, and mind you, man, like we're broke at this time. Like we're just two young Afghans trying to make it, do our thing, and we still are trying to make it. Feel me? But I went out to Florence and we're like packing bags and shit, and we hopped on that train that goes to Milan, and from Milan we went to all the way to Frankfurt, and then man, I'll tell you that train ride for me was like, I mean, take Bart and like make it the nicest thing ever.
Yeah, Bart serving red wine and
Yeah,
charcuterie.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like on a trust system, they coming in and they asking, do you have a ticket? And like they don't even look. I'm just like, man, this is
Bro,
crazy. And man, try getting on a BART train, jumping over the little hurdle things and not paying for it. But anyway, man,
So
so,
one when you started, most people, they get super wealthy and then they buy a sports team. Pretty rare, to hear a story. I've never heard of it before, and I'm sure there's other stories like this where you're starting a team from scratch and you're
that's
working the team and the brand up in level to that highest level. Like when did that idea kind of hit you? When did you have that kind of breakthrough?
Yeah, this also goes back to Mike's origin story, and I completely went off on a tangent. But
that's all good.
man, it comes off. You know, my parents fled Afghanistan during the Russian invasion, um, and they came here by way of war, right? And so my understanding of life is that it's a fight, and you have to just do whatever you got to do to exist and thrive and protect your loved ones. That's how I was raised. I was born in Oakland, raised throughout the Bay Area my whole life, spent time in Central Valley, came back, been around, even went to Wellesley, Massachusetts to grab my master's in business, and along this whole time, like soccer has been in my flesh and bones, right? Like my uncle was the national team goalkeeper for Afghanistan. My dad was managing a small club in near his hometown, and sister played. I played my whole life. I got recruited to Davis, Division 1. Hurt my ankles. I tore 2 ligaments in that 1 year, freshman year, and like just kind of went down the drain for me, and I pivoted. So coming back to the town, there was a lot of conversation around how like my experience around branding and marketing and design and aesthetic meshes with purpose. And Mike Geddes, who is our chief purpose officer on the board, one of our co-founders, came from a philanthropic background. He was in the world trying to build models in the soccer world that was rooted in social impact and changing the way we see the game. We've seen soccer change lives elsewhere, and he brought that model back to Oakland through a few projects he was working on. And so myself, several of our other co-founding group got together and said, let's merge all these concepts, and build something that is cool. And then that idea led to developing a community advisory board of like OGs in the community, stakeholders, people that like have a voice. And, as you know, like you can't navigate in the town and like do it without precaution. Like you got to get the blessing. You got to talk to people. You got to be in the streets.
You got to
And
get a JTA on your team. I want this guy.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. And, and like, that's a good point, man. I love GTA. He's amazing. And, the thing is, man, like my philosophy in life is the streets and time don't lie. Like those are the two things that don't lie. So if you're building something, whether it's your own personal character or a project, like you have to be truly about it and in the community, and you have to act that way, or else time will really expose you. And oftentimes we've seen when time has exposed people, and so we try to move with that cautiousness, and respect for our elders. Our hashtag is like know your roots, right? Like knowing where you come from helps you know where you're going. It's why we built this entire brand. And so we've always tried to tap in, and like that early stage concept of tapping in and being present at every event, every farmers market, every festival, art and soul, black joy, like just showing face and being there and being present. There's no substitute for that. For 2 years we did that, and then it led to, oh shit, like people are really messing with the concept of professional soccer in Oakland. We got to build an identity. And this is when like I came to the table and I said, we got to do this in a way that no other team has done it. Like it just can't be about basketball or baseball or soccer or football. It has to be way bigger than this. And we have to try to be what FC Barcelona is in,
Bro. Yeah.
in the world. You
Yeah.
feel me? Like when you drop Barcelona, people don't even think about the culture in the city and all that. They think the club,
Right.
because it's actually synonymous
Yeah.
with the identity of the city. And that's where I'm like, if you're not synonymous with the identity of the city, you can pack your bags and then go to San Francisco. You can pack your bags and go to Santa Clara. You know what I mean? Like that. So, or Vegas, and we built it truly kind of like connected, where if Oakland is not in the name, the roots don't exist. That's just the reality of it. We rolled out a brand that was a 2-year long process of like iteration and talking to the right people and getting the right design heads in the room, partnering with Oaklandish, who was like a stellar pillar in our community. I mean, talk about like Angela and Aaron, our big brother and sister to me, have taught me so much along the ways when it comes to merchandising. I was always on the design side, like, cranking designs, but they on the other side of like supply chain and like understanding the business of merchandise help Roots get on the map. And they're already tapped in, right? So talk about like tapping into people that are already here. Important to show that respect, and created a elaborate partnership with them, and they've been with us ever since now. And that's really helped us like take sports merchandising to a completely different place. Like Dame was wearing our shit during the playoffs, talking about like, make sure you get the shirt on the timeline. And I promise you, like now he knows what Roots is, but like back then he probably had no idea.
No,
He's just
he just knew like it was some
exactly.
real Oakland.
That's it. Yeah. And he saw the Oakland Roots on the shirt and he was rocking with it. And Jeezy would have his shit in the music video, and we would rock with people, and like that our organic connection to the town led to those things happening organically. Like we have not spent money to be in these places. Like this is like just word of mouth marketing, and that's like the strongest tool. And over the course of the years, man, we're now like, we went from 2 core investors that believed in our concept. So Dom, to your question about like how does this even happen, well, in a lot of ways, man, it's similar to the Raiders story, where you have a co-founding group that really doesn't come from money. They're just kind of like they have a concept of blue collar work ethic, and they're trying to build a brand around it. And then, you have people around them that believe in it and invest in it. And that's kind of what is happening here. We are 42 plus investors, predominantly Bay Area, Oakland based. And all of these people have passion towards like this project being different and being purpose oriented. And I'm talking hella about it. I want to give you all
Nah,
space
you're
for it, but
good.
like, we are the only club in America that donates 1% of our ticket revenues and staff salaries to social impact causes in Oakland. We are the only club in America that during the pandemic and during the really trying times the past 2 years, like, we started something called the Anti-Racist Project that basically brought some of the biggest clubs in the world to the table and created education platforms of racial and gender equity and equality for this game. We have 2 Black coaches in technical positions that don't exist anywhere else in America. There's like 4 people in this space. And so, we've constantly tried to like break down those barriers and do the things that are different because we have the ability to, you know, and we're young and agile enough to. And so like that's our value add. Most people think that business is separate from purpose, and I fundamentally disagree. I think that when you put, cities on your back, and when you do good shit in the community, that leads to ticket sales, that leads to people buying shirts. It's not the other way around. Like, you can't just slap a logo on a shirt and be like, hey, follow us. Like, you gotta, and I said this, I'm a firm believer in this philosophy. Like, you got to give gifts for people to ensure that they give gifts back. And I've always said this to people. Like, there's no trick around that.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
The we have a lot of business folks that listen into our show. You mentioned having incredible people as mentors on your team. When you have a business that you start and it's like your child, and it's like everything to you, how do you let go a little bit of that and let people run with and add to your identity, your
Add value.
culture, but also maintain your trueness, right? And kind of, how do you navigate that fear of like, if I let this person run this, how do you deal with that?
yeah, it's a great question, Dom. I mean, I think this is like the fundamental complexity most businesses face in the first 2 years, right? It's like most businesses, 98% fail within 2 to 3 years of existence. And it is because they can't cross the chasm from like proof of concept to scalability. And they can't maintain their identity with that jump. They hire the wrong people during that jump. They can't adapt to the perception of the brand or the business during that jump. I mean, there's so many factors, you all know. But I think the way we've been able to like make that leap is by truly hiring the right people. And sometimes that means like certain people are right for certain times in an organization, but it doesn't mean that they're right for the future of it. And those are difficult decisions that need to be made, and that's a part of every business at every stage. But ensuring that you have good human beings, I think for me is like, I look at resumes and I make sure they hit the mark. Like, everyone does that. But if you're hiring with the barometer that this person has like a smidge more experience than that person, I think that's the wrong barometer.
Yeah.
I think you should be looking at, can I envision myself working for this individual one day? Right? If I'm not here, can I trust this person to pick up where I left off and to run shit? And that's how I've tried to hire, at least in the organization. And I felt like it's worked pretty damn well. And everyone believes the identity. And it also comes to unapologeticness, bro. Like, you have to be very, very strong about your ideals. And when people are pulling on those strings, like, you have to be fearless enough to say, no, thank you, or you're not right for this. You know what I mean? And furthermore, um, it's not just about having a seat at the table, it's about having a plate to eat. Have always said this too, is like, there's a difference between sitting at a table and having a conversation versus like actually making decisions. So myself, Mike Geddes, our board, we're all so strong on our values that, that right there is like, it has to start from there. Like, do the investors, do the co-founders, do the people on the board level see the organization the same way. And when you can hit that, like everything else starts to trickle in a way that is very meaningful. Otherwise, you start, like, if your roots are a little off, everything else is going to be off, right? So it's foundational stuff, man. I think that's really key. And some people move too fast and they forget about the foundation, and then the reworking of the past is what kills them. And
or,
that's what
or
I've
they
seen.
or they change themselves for opportunities. You know, they have an opportunity that maybe doesn't line up with their core values, and they go, well, we can be a team that values this, because
Right.
we have to take this opportunity, versus just having the patience to go, hey, that's not the best fit, the right one will come along.
100%. I mean, shit. Great example in the fashion merchandising spaces like Supreme. And I hate talking about Supreme in this way, but if you talk to people at VF Corp who are running high level, VF Corp owns Supreme, if I'm not
Okay,
mistaken. And like,
I
you
do.
know, but they're a freaking black box. Like no one knows what happens at Supreme because they operate on their own wavelength. And that's how they've been able to stay relevant for so damn long, you know? Like talk about ideals and values, man. You don't even know who the hell even works there. Because,
Yeah.
like it's just they just drop shit and you're just like, wow, this is dope. But I think that you can take a lot from streetwear brands and cultural institutions and learn from that. The arts, like the arts will never change. Like the streets and the culture will never change. Businesses and money does. Money's funny, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
Supreme has also, in skateboarding they call it the Golden Triangle, right? They've put themselves alongside GX 1000 and Nike
Mm.
skateboarding, and they get riders who ride for all three, and they've really been able to kind of run with that. So it's such a good example.
Yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, when you're moving up within divisions, you mentioned you have quite a few investors. Obviously, like the monetary and expenses change. Like, how have you guys been able to kind of manage through each division that you've kind of grown into?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, each level is different. So the operating budget for Division 4 is like significantly less than Division
Oh
3,
yeah, it's insane.
and then significantly less than Division 2. Um, the jumps from each aren't drastic, but I think we've always tried to, and maybe this answers the question, is like there are some teams in our current league that operate budget wise and operationally at Division 3 and Division 4 levels
Wow.
because their brand and their product isn't as good.
Right.
So to give you a perspective, like we're number 2 in the league when it comes to merchandise. Like comparatively, we're probably close to, I don't know, some lower performing NBA teams or something like that, right?
Wow.
Like it is on that scale. But that's also because we try to punch way above our weight. Like we are
Like the Mavericks, lower performing team. Sorry, it's too soon for them, but
Too
I had
soon,
to.
too
bro.
soon,
Too
bro.
soon,
Yeah.
We
bro.
got leaking roofs and shit. Like, come on, man. So yeah, totally, totally. I mean, there's some interesting brands out there, and I will say that. But there's others like the Brooklyn Nets, for instance, speaking outside of our own preferences, that have done really good of like changing their brand around and really performing incredibly, globally. And so Warriors, great example, man. I mean, they're a fantastic global brand, and they've been able to penetrate Asia in a way that like no other team in the NBA, if not in the world, has been able to. So, yeah, man, like
They
that's
hit that the gold blooded.
the
Oh,
gold blooded.
the gold blooded in Asia probably is selling through the roof right now.
Plus, I mean, Rakuten helped. I mean, Rakuten really helped with that too, in
Definitely,
Japan at least.
yeah, yeah.
But no, man, it's just
Steph helps. Clay helps with that shoe deal, right?
oh yeah, well,
All
yeah,
of it strategic. I mean that Clay deal for me, the perception of that, like locally, sure in America, we're probably not waiting for the next Clay drop at all.
right, right,
But I mean that's big for Asia.
yeah.
That's huge. When you have one of the best shooters in the league rocking with an Asian brand, you better believe they're standing around the corner for that. You know what I mean? So and by the way, Oakland has done some amazing drops with Clay in downtown to like drive awareness for a sneaker, and I think it's worked great. But again, that's the type of like awareness and energy we've tried to build for our brand, and we've always tried to position club to be and I hate to say this if the league is listening, but like club bigger than the league. You know what I mean?
Right.
The leagues are their own entities. Like they don't dictate what happens in Oakland. They don't tell us which merchandise to create. Like they're really just like a governance. They're just like a median in which we all operate in. But it's our duty to represent where we come from in a way that's authentic and build the businesses according to our environments, right? And so that's also my beef with a lot of the upper division teams that like
Like
have
MLS
standardized
teams.
templates. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That have like standardized templates for jerseys, or like,
Yeah.
you know, everyone has to promote each other on certain days divisionally that are like on national television. Like, why would I tweet about another team that's playing on the same day just because we're trying to grow? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of those nuances that exist on that level that I think need to be thought about more seriously to help brands be their own brands and
Mm-hmm.
be closer to the identities of their communities. And so I've always approached it as we're building something that's for Oakland, not for the USL or for the MLS or for any of these leagues. This is us. So we can grow as much as we want if y'all want, but it's up to y'all, type energy.
Speaking of building for Oakland, I'm from Oakland. I was born at Alta Bates Hospital. I grew up on 54th and Whitney in West Oakland. Before West Oakland didn't look like it did now. Your logo, I love the logo. What went into that? It's such a good representative of Oakland. It's an amazing logo. How was the process for that? Was that did that come easily, or was that a lengthy process?
Lengthy, Dom, for sure. And again, I'm like 32 and I've floated around the Bay Area. Like I don't have the track record that Marshawn has or you have or some other people have. So it's important, even though I reside here and I was born here, to like get the perspective of people that have deeper connections and roots, no pun intended. And so I'll just start there. So like every process, even with Soul, like coming up with the name Soul was a 2-year long process of like interviewing hundreds of people from Oakland, men, women, children, etc. And like, we landed on that because it felt the closest to our identity. And same with Roots, man. Like early days, we had a sketch board, and at some point, like we had Mai Tai FC up there. We had, Funk Town up there. You know what I mean? Like these were like real ass concepts that we were floating around that had to do with Oakland culture and history. And when we landed on Roots, it made sense because there's so much to unpack there. Like the literal symbol of Oakland is the oak tree.
The tree, right?
You're not going to have a beautiful, strong tree that blossoms and all that jazz without strong roots. And there's also this concept of tapping in with your elders and having respect for the culture and the identity of Oakland that we know exists. And so Know Your Roots was born. And then the unapologetic commitment to ensuring that this is always here for Oakland is like where Oakland first always came. And those principles of like blue collar, colorful, diverse, black and white being kind of foundational elements on the fashion side. And then trying to zag while everyone else zigs, right? Like every other crest in soccer looks very similar, has similar elements. We chose a quirky, funky font. We warped it. We put the tree and then added symbolism in there with like the little outline of Oakland
Mm-hmm.
representing
The right
like
side
light shining through a tree. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that came from like I remember being near town hall and that the big oak tree that's there, the iconic oak tree, like just seeing the light shine through it for me was like so beautiful. And I was like, we got to somehow encapsulate that in that little map and outline of Oakland. And then of course the Roots is just like colorful and strong and diverse. And we have a section in our stadium called the Mosaic to like mimic off of the color
So sick.
and identity of the crest. So that's kind of how it came about, Dom. And then like everything peeled back from there. And we didn't try to limit ourselves to like 3 colors. Like, why do that? There's so much in Oakland that you can tell a story around. Like this year we did green and yellow kits. for many reasons. But, it pay homage to the Oakland flag and maybe make a couple other people upset. But, we did what we had to do. So, yeah.
Do you have a lot of interaction with the players? I mean, we had Bob Myers on the show when we first launched the show, and we talked to him about interacting with players. What's kind of like that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I interact with players a lot. I mean, on the marketing side, so there's always, efforts and energies around collaborating with them on certain partner obligations, or, getting the right messaging to certain organizations out to drive awareness around vaccinations, or around healthy living, and so on and so forth. And so, and we also work with them a lot on a day-to-day basis on like youth appearances, and pulling up to purpose partners for practices and things of that sort, because that influence in the community is key. And furthermore, like most of these cats are kind of around the same age as me.
Right.
So, I kind of view it as, these are my brothers, and like, we all, front office versus players, really like, I've also not understood that culture in sports. Like, I think it's really, quite frankly, dumb to have this divide of like technical and front office. Like, this is a unified club. Like, I don't see anyone on the marketing side differently than I see the players, or that I see our technical staff. Like, this is all family, and we believe that. And so, yeah, man, it's like, how do we support y'all to do your job? We just recently acquired the old Raiders training facility. That's where they train out
Sick.
of. So I'd love to give you guys a tour. It's really beautiful out there.
Oh,
Um,
dude, are you playing like a open run with these guys in the off season? Like, are you getting out there playing with them?
I try not to. I try not to. Yeah, there's boundaries,
Bro,
for sure.
suit up for a playoff
Yeah,
game, dude,
man,
and
come
just be
on,
like, "Yo, I'm
bro.
gonna do like Jordan with the Wizards. I'm suiting up, and like, I don't know what to tell you. Set me up for a goal, or like, it's gonna be a problem, you know."
I mean, I'd be lying if I, would say it's not a dream of mine to like lace them up for a game. You feel me? But no, man. I think I pulled up once to practice, and it was like a life-defining moment, because I wish there was a team like this when I was, in the game coming up and trying to play and whatnot. But yeah, man, these guys are at a different level. They're just, I'd have
Dude,
to train for 10
You
years
got you
for.
got to do a celeb Bay Area celeb
I'm
kind of
sure
a
they've done
game.
that. I'm sure
You
they've
know,
done it.
although there's not too many. Soccer is there's some celebs that can hoop, or soccer's a
Yeah,
unique. You got to have a unique skill set.
Dude,
yeah.
I have a similar story. So I played college ball and some semi-professional in the San Francisco Pro Am, and I used to train a little bit with JTA.
Mm,
And so right before he made the Warriors NBA squad, this is when he was playing in the G League. He invited me to come to one of his workouts, and it was with some other G League guys. And there was four guys. We played one on one, three dribbles on spots on the court. And for 2 hours, I was on an island. I mean, I was getting cooked and fried every direction. I mean, and it's like it was a really humbling experience for me because you look at back then. I looked at the G League like, oh, it's really nothing big, and I couldn't have been more incorrect and more humbled. So I definitely
bro,
love
that's a
hearing that
great
type of
point.
story.
Yo, this is actually a really good subject, because there's a big misperception around this idea of professional. Like, man, these guys are really, really good. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's like just like opportunity, or like not being there at the right time and place, that causes the divide between the greatest athlete and maybe one that just didn't make it. And I've
right.
seen it so many times, bro, like where there's a player that in my eyes is like, damn, if like they had the right management, or like the right vehicles to get to where they needed to be, or if they had the right social presence, or whatever it is, right? The right tools, this guy would blow up. A guy or gal will blow up. But it's just like resources sometimes, is time and place. And it's unfortunate. And that's part of my passion, which is like trying to create more opportunities for people in these spaces. And with women specifically too, man, like there is zero outlets for women in the Bay to play soccer at a high level. None. And that's just, it's like irritating and frustrating for me. So hopefully we can be that gap.
A lot of that comes too back to fitting in, right? On brand.
Mm.
You were talking about the interviews. Two people we had on our show, GP2 and Juan,
Mm-hmm.
very easily discarded or overlooked by
Right.
many teams. They fit within the team of the Warriors. You got both of them at certain key times performing at the highest level possible. And other players were like, they're not good enough for our roster. And here, and you get a game from GP2 where he's like the MV, he's the best that day. And so
Absolutely.
it's a lot of it has to do with just fitting in. There's a lot of timing that comes into that too.
100%, man. Yeah. And oftentimes, like the difference between a really high level professional and maybe someone that is just making it or barely making it, I think comes down to like attitude and mindset too. It's not skill. I feel like a lot of these guys have the skill. It's just like the like consciousness to know how to navigate a room at a certain moment in time, or like know when to be in the right places at the certain time, when to say certain things, you know. And unfortunately, like I'm not a big fan of politicking. Like I think that's the worst thing in the world, but that's a part of the game, right? Like you have to play chess to sometimes get to where you're going.
I'll do that part for
Yeah.
you. Let me know next time in town. I'll do some politicking, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Tom's a
For sure.
big union guy, man. He knows all about the politics.
Oh
He's
yeah.
No, that is a part. It's like necessary, but yeah, it's draining.
It's
Because so
training.
much of it is like,
kissing ass.
it's just there's a lot of not always, sometimes deception in it, and a lot of like this for that instead of things being straight up. Like do this because you think it's the right thing, and because
Right.
but it also
Yeah.
it's an area that balances. It is made to balance interests, which is a difficult thing. It's the hardest thing.
Yeah, it's very true. But I also think, man, like common decency and humanity is a very simple concept. Like when you open a door, it kind of makes sense to hold it open if someone's behind you. You know what I mean? Like there's like, and that's the shit that just for me sometimes like perplexing. Is like I've sat in on things and I'm just like, did like why is this a problem? Like if you try to strip it back, the common thing to do is actually the most simple thing to do, and we
Communicate.
overcomplicate everything in life. And it's like, yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but I totally understand and get it. And I think in a lot of ways, bro, I don't think I would have gotten to where I'm at if I just kind of like was totally against it. I get it. Like I know you have to read a room and politic a little bit. Am I a fan of it? Hell not. But it's a part of the game, you know.
No, I can, I mean, even just messaging you to come on the show, you were so receptive and quick to respond, and I could just tell right away that you were a solid dude. So,
Appreciate
um, it's definitely dope to see a young club owner, with so much heart and who's really all about doing the right thing.
appreciate you, man. I mean, it's like, first of all, you guys are giving me the space and time and energy. So, um, my biggest eye-opening experience. I don't know if you guys know Grant Wall. He's like the biggest soccer journalist in the world.
Hmm.
Um, one of them. And when we launched Roots, I remember, man, when we dropped the crest, we were like nobodies, right? And I was emailing and messaging every journalist in America to try to get our name out there. And this cat responds to me and he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to have you on my show and whatnot." And I'm like, how is it that the biggest dude in the nation is having me on his podcast? And that's not what tripped me out the most, right? I was like, okay, he probably likes the crest or whatever the story. Bro, this is a little bit of personal news and I probably shouldn't be sharing it, but like he had a family member pass that day or day before, and
Right.
the man did not reschedule.
That's
Wow.
insane.
Bro, like
Commitment.
when I found out about that, I swear to this day, dude, they changed me. I was like, man, like that level of professionalism to just like even in the most difficult moment of your life,
Right.
you're like, nah, I committed to
Yeah.
this young kid. I got to do it. I mean, that for me, man, I was blown away, and I'm nowhere near it. I have hella work to do, I was late timing into the Zoom. I apologize,
No,
but
dude. Oh my
you know,
God. Stop. You're chilling.
No, 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 no.
but again, y'all are giving this space and time, so it's just like it's an honor and a blessing, man. And I only got one life to do it, so might as well go down burning, man. Give it my all.
Hey, so for you, like, was there like a time or I know Dom likes to ask this question too, but like, was there like a time or moment like when you had that aha moment as far as like, hey, I can like go out and do whatever the hell I want to do, whether it's starting a team, being a board member on this
Mm.
organization, bringing women's soccer to the Bay Area in a major way. Like, what's that moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like going like seeing um and it's a tough question. Like I had a startup prior to Roots. I was able to build the business and whatnot, but it came with a lot of insecurities, man. It came with sometimes you don't know if the decision's the right decision. You're always tripping about what the next move is. You're living out your car, hopping from one place to one place. And I think the big moment for me is like when you see a lot of people that worked really hard their whole life dip, then you're like, damn, it's just like why like what's the whole purpose of being here and then just not having the ability to like live your purpose or have the impact that you want to have, small or big. Some people are great with doing what they want to do and that's their impact and they're very happy with it. But for me, I think it just took like, unfortunately, a lot of tragedy, bro. Like, unfortunately, like it took seeing a lot of that shit to happen and then finally realize, like, man, I'm really not scared of anything or anyone because at the end of the day, you might be a billionaire and I might not, but we all going to the fucking dirt. And your money ain't going with you, bro. So that for me, like just that realization over time, man, I think it made me pretty pretty solid in terms of my outlook and the things I want to do. And that's it.
Have
So
you always been a someone that's not afraid of failure, or did you have to overcome that hump, to where you were like, hey, you know what, like this is I'm not,
mhm.
I don't care if I fail, like I'm going to do, that's often a huge obstacle for a lot of people in pursuing things they want to do.
Yeah. So I think there's two parts to that. I don't think I'm necessarily scared of failing. I'm scared that I put a lot of time and energy into something and it doesn't have the impact that I envisioned it having. And I think those are two different things. Like you can put products, ideas, and things out into the real world and might not have the impact that you want. And it's not considered failure, right? It's like maybe that's a stepping stone for someone else and you keep building. So failure for me it's not scary at all. And I think the fear comes from when you have a lot to lose. But when you have nothing to lose, then what is the fear? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like I could try some shit right now. It doesn't work. All right. Like what, nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to, as long, and this is the one principle for me is like, as long as it don't fuck with my personal life and like my family and it doesn't impact their happiness. I
Hmm.
mean, quite frankly, there's nothing that's like really fearful of. And I'm a religious person, not religious, but I believe in a higher being, and that for me has like been a trust everything that you cannot handle because the human being cannot be above it, in my opinion. So that's helped a lot as well.
I like that about the impact, though. That's a good gauge, right? It reminds me of that movie Jobs
Mm.
when he creates the cube, and it's a failure by definition. It's a failure, but he created an operating system that Apple had to buy, so it had the impact that he wanted, but it was determined a failure. So it's like, it's
Yeah,
kind of,
exactly. How do you measure that?
Dom
yeah.
loves Jobs, dude. Might be the second
Tell me about
reference
it,
in the
bro.
podcast.
Bro, tell me about it. Like, by the way, I worked at Apple for a minute, so
Wow.
like I co-managed uh, a few stores in the East Bay market, and you know that time for me, bro, was crazy. And people don't understand the impact of jobs, and you do, Dom. I'm sure you do, Mike. But like, bro, like they he created this like I got my MBA from Babson College, top organization or top institution, and one of my classmates was a part of the team that created the trackpad on the MacBooks.
Oh,
And
damn.
yeah, and she told me that like, and I was like, man, tell me all about this, and that experience of like working that closely. And she was telling me how there was a time where this cat like walked up into an elevator and like she was with someone else and he like on the spot was like, what are our core values? And the woman like stumbled and he fired her on the spot. And so like, I was like, damn. I mean, and then there's also this like crazy attention to detail.
Oh
So
yeah.
people don't realize that when they're walking into retail stores at Apple, you're actually smelling a smell that you don't smell in other retail stores. Like we were a part of, we curated scents in vents for launches so that when people open the iPhone and then like use the iPhone, that sensory is like instilled in their brain from when they
Bro,
open that
that
iPhone
creeps me
store.
out, man.
I'm
That's
telling you,
insane.
dude.
That's all for you don't get to that level though. You never get to that level by luck, chance. It is just, that was the jobs that was
Absolutely.
I
People say maniac, some people say genius, but I mean, at the end of the day, man, like huge inspiration for me, man. I was close to a lot of product launches.
yeah.
I was there when he died and when he passed the baton to Tim, and then Tim did his first presentation. I was at that presentation,
Damn, that's
and
crazy.
like, and I just remember seeing all of this happen and unraveling, and I'm like, man, like people really don't understand the impact. Like they're just using these devices, but they have no fucking idea how
Yeah.
much goes behind this, you know?
I talked to someone that worked um, uh, with jobs, and he said that like one time they were at a meeting, and he was like, "Hey, what do you think it is that we do?" And
Mm,
he said, and the guy with jobs said, "You guys are a tech company. You make tech." He's like, "No." He's like, "I'm a magician.
mm,
I make magic. That's it. That's it. There's nothing like I'm a magician. Like, hey, you can only put 16 songs on a disc. I'm gonna
yep,
do a magic trick. I'll show you how to put 300. That's it. That's all. Everything
yep.
they do is like, yeah, we could go
Next
on.
level,
We could
man.
go on
Next
forever.
level.
Next
Yeah, and
level.
there's many examples of this. I'm sure that like jobs. I'm sorry, y'all. I got like stuff going on
Oh,
outside.
it's all right, dude.
Um,
All good,
per
dude.
usual. But I'm sure Jobs was inspired by Disney, right?
Oh yeah,
Like, and then we could talk for days about Disney,
days.
and that's just another whole thing. And talk about magic, bro. Like, there's a reason why our purpose statement is to harness the magic of Oakland and the power of sport for social good. Is because I want people to come to these games and like feel like this is. I go through enough shit in my daily life to come here and be more frustrated,
Right.
or like whatever. I want people to go to the games and feel like, fuck, I paid pretty cheap price for this. I'm getting hot dogs at halftime being tossed at me. It feels like an Oakland experience. The food's
Yeah.
great. It's kind of a little bit of magic, like,
Marshawn's
and
at the game.
Sean pulls up, and,
You got a little Mac Trey at halftime. Maybe you do a little
and
halftime show from Tower of Power. Old,
bro,
that's a throwback. That's a
it's
throwback
throwback.
right
I mean, I would love to have Tower Power for a soul match
there.
because they got
Oh,
that track, soul with a capital S that like I've been envisioning in my head. So
have you tried to hit him up?
yeah, we're talking. We're
Oh
talking.
my! I mean, they would love. They have to do Oakland roots. Like, there's no
Yeah,
option. Like, that's not
yeah.
an option. Like, it's you should
They're
just.
busy. They're busy,
Oh
but
yeah, they're
we're gonna
still
work it
digging.
out.
You should call
Yeah,
and just be like, "Hey, look, here's the thing. I'm going to make you guys an offer. Like, you understand you have to do this. Like, you know what I mean. You stay
If
true
only it
to
was that
you,
easy.
dude.
and I'm telling you, man, like the soul connection is crazy. And talk about like funk music and their impact and Mac Dre's impact on current. I mean, honestly, like funk sound and soul sound created high feet and allowed for Mac Dre to have that sound and allowed for then Drake to sample it in modern music.
Oh yeah, we were
It's like,
talking about that with Pilo, man. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
shout
the
out
hyphy
people.
movement was so integral and like what or like it's like what we listen to today. You hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's it captures the vibe of the Bay, like bleeds through Mac Dre's musics. You know, it's like it's unreal. And you just love how anyone from the Bay, you go to a club anywhere and drop a Mac Dre song, and then you can spot
Rap.
100% certainty who is from the Bay. You just look at what they're doing, and you're like, and you could do,
Yeah.
yep, that's it. You got everyone.
No.
Yeah, you can see it in the face for sure. Yeah.
Listen, my
100%.
man, I'm sure we could talk all day. We have a
Good.
lightning round, dude, where we
Got it.
ask Bay Area specific questions.
Mhm.
If you answer all the questions right, you get to be the holder of this belt.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
The
it's
questions,
it's a big deal, man. You know, I mean,
I know. Has anyone else gotten them all right, man? What's the pressure looking
yeah.
like?
we
Name
have
some of our guests who've won, Dom.
Mark Suchu was a belt holder.
Skater of the year.
GP2 was a belt holder. The current champion right now is Chewy Gomez. We had Jeremy Fish, the artist, who was a belt holder.
Who else?
I think we had Jackie Taboni, actress. She was a holder, and so we've had some great holders. The thing is extremely difficult. Now, Mike sometimes struggles with giving hints. And he has like, there's a lot of Bay Area people that are looking for him, including Jeremy Fish, who is like, dude, like he was very disturbed. So it is tough though. I would say like usually it's very difficult. And again, I know you were saying you were born and raised in the Bay, but you moved around. So a lot of these sometimes are like really tough. Like what's the color of the wall at this corner store? It's supposed to be
It's
brutal.
not that direct.
It's all good. Hey, and the way I view it is like, if I don't know now, I know, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly,
awesome.
bro.
Okay, well let's get to it, and we'll drop a couple of hints. So don't rush to the answer. So first question here is: so the Warriors have a chance with this NBA Finals to pass the Bulls as being the third most winningest to have the most championships as a franchise. The question is, they didn't just win all of their championships in Oakland. In what U.S. city, previously home to the Warriors, was the championships? There was championships won.
Where were they won?
Where were they run? Where were the Warriors won prior, or that are not inclusive of Oakland,
Yeah,
California?
prior to the move.
Got it. Well,
I can drop a hint. Because it's the first
Let me
question.
make sure I was born in these years.
Oh yeah, it's definitely pre. This is. I mean, you just have to know. I'll give you a hint.
Well, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
The city that was home for this team also is well known for sending a prince to Bel Air, to reside in Bel Air, and that's Prince is Will Smith. Fresh Prince of Bel Air hailed from the same city as where the Warriors were.
So, I mean, that's pretty. I mean, Philly.
That's
Yes,
it,
sir,
Philly.
you got
See,
it,
you're
dog.
okay. You're
Dude,
out
that
of the
was the
gate.
most generous gift.
That was generous.
Bro, you really gave it away with that one, bro.
We couldn't let you not get past the first round. Like that would have been bad right there. So
I
we
appreciate
good.
you guys.
Good.
Yeah,
We
hell yeah.
good.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an option because these are. I'm looking.
That's tough, man. I mean, what year was that? Let me ask that question.
That was like 40s,
Bro, come
47
on.
and 56 and 58.
Bro,
It's
my
tough.
ancestors were in Persia at that point. What are you talking? I was a seedling, not even in existence at that point, man. Come on. But thank you for the hint.
It was yeah, it was a long time ago. Okay, how familiar are you with Bay Area radio channels and radio history throughout the Bay Area?
I would say enough to be dangerous,
Okay,
but
cool.
not crazy. Yeah, hit me though.
Okay, so we had a recent guest on Bridge to Bridge by the name of Chewy Gomez. He was a radio host on what well-known Bay Area radio station?
So
He was there for 20 years.
20 years.
yeah,
I'll tell you what, you got a good chance
I mean, look, again, KMEL.
Yeah,
That's it, dude. You got it,
There we
dude.
go,
Wow.
man.
Unless it was like a trick. I
Don't doubt
mean,
yourself, man. Don't doubt yourself.
so
Hey,
look,
you know what question I was gonna ask instead of that one? If you said no to being a radio, I was gonna ask you who is the greatest Italian forward for the Italian national team in the history of Italian soccer. This isn't a question. Don't worry. You don't have to get stressed on this
I
one.
mean,
yeah.
who would you say? Who would you say?
Bro, I would say
Shit.
Baggio.
I would say Del
I mean,
Piero.
Bashio's up there, but God, what was? I mean, honestly, I grew up on the cat, Tony, the tall cat. What's his
Luca
name?
Toni, my guy,
Luca
dude.
Tony,
Yeah.
My
bro.
guy,
I
legend.
mean, come on, man.
Like he
I
would
don't know.
score
For
and he
me,
goes like this every time,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, dude. I mean, that for me was pretty fucking. I mean, he was. I grew up on that, so that was
Yeah.
it for me for sure. Yeah.
I feel like Mike, I feel like your question next is easier than this other
Okay.
one I was gonna ask. So why don't Mike, this is so you are at like you're one away. You're at the playoffs right now for sure.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right.
All right.
All right. So this female professional soccer player, she is also an American sports broadcaster. She broadcasted the first men's World Cup game. She also played soccer at Santa Clara University and won a gold medal. What is
Ooh.
her name?
Let me just really think about.
Yeah, take some time.
She
We
she
got
was
time.
at Santa Clara from 98
And
to
your sister was at
2002.
Santa Clara, right?
Yes, that's clear. I just want to fact check myself in my brain to make sure that, like, I mean,
You want me
there's
to
one
answer?
iconic person that comes to mind, and this is like the Brandy Chastain. Like, no,
It ain't
damn it.
Brandy, dude. It ain't Brandy.
We'll give you another guess because the last question is like really hard.
All right,
So
so we'll give
Man.
you one more. Okay, so look, she went to Santa Clara. Okay, American sports broadcaster, retired midfielder, played for the Los Angeles Soul. Okay,
and she's from
and
the Bay Area, right?
from the Bay Area. She
Okay.
grew up in San
All right,
Jose.
that helps. That helps.
That's a key
So if
piece.
it's not, yeah, it's a key piece. So if it's not Brandy, it's Allie.
Yep, you got it, man.
Wow.
You got it, dog.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
By the way,
Uh,
we trying to get
the soul
Ali on
gave
the
it away,
show.
bro. The soul gave it away.
We're
That gave
gonna
it
get
away.
Ali on the show. So shout out to you for
Allie
getting that.
Wagner, man, she's a legend. Again, I mean, that's tough because my little sister Hilai played with. I mean, like Brandy Chastain is constantly coaching the team,
Right.
and she's like highly connected. So my brain went straight to Brandy, but second person there, man, iconic Allie, 100%.
Did Brandy
You
go to
know,
Santa
did Brandy go to Santa Clara? That's
She
something I
did.
would.
Yeah,
She
she
did,
did.
yeah.
We'll,
Okay.
we'll check him.
She went to Cal first, and then she went to Santa Clara.
We'll check.
Wow.
We'll make sure we spot check Mike on that. Okay, for the last question, there's no hints on this, and this is really tough. So, like, first of all, you've made it farther than like 98% of all of our guests. All right,
go, man.
and we've given
Come on.
more generous hints than that.
You guys have been really. I mean, it's been pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the Oakland firestorm, it was called, and this was one of the most infamous, catastrophic brush fires to ever come through Oakland. I'm sure growing up in the Bay, you remember. What year did that wildfire take place?
I mean, bro. So I was born in '89, so I didn't actually
Yeah.
experience it, but I am 100% familiar with the impact and the story. Give me a second to think through. Like, I know it was early '90s.
Yeah, you're on the right track, and you were young. I will say that.
So,
My age.
I mean, it's either 90 or 91. 91?
Oh,
Boom, dude! Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
bro,
he
let's
came with the
go.
Hail Mary.
Is it really it?
It's 91, dog.
Oh my
Bridge to
God.
Bridge
Wow, dude.
Crazy.
You
I
got
mean,
that.
Yeah.
shit, that's crazy. I mean, you know
Dude,
what's funny is,
that was like, dude,
wow.
Let's go.
dude.
Let's
that-
got it.
go.
That's crazy. This is amazing.
You Bay
Dude.
official now, dog.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you know how I know that one is that, so I have a cousin that lives up in the hills. So that's why it's kind of close to home there. And then secondly, didn't live through it during that time, but lives there now. And I heard through stories. And then the second thing, with Roots last year, it was the anniversary of the brush fire. And or maybe it was
20 year anniversary
20
or
year
30 year.
30. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we had an elaborate social post, kind of remembering the families and the victims that experienced that fire. So that's how it's still kind of fresh in my mind. But right on,
Dude,
guys. That was
You a
fun.
champ, dog.
you're
Welcome
the
to the
champ,
club.
dude. That's unreal that you pulled that out, and you're the champ.
Thank you.
We have to get you. Mike's gonna have to cross. Are you living in Oakland now? Or where are you at in the Bay
I'm
Area?
gonna go to a game, bro, for sure.
Yeah,
I'll buy a
please do,
ticket.
man.
Yeah.
Please do.
We
I'm
got to tour.
actually,
We got to tour that Raiders facility. Go
yeah, I
through.
mean, you guys hit me up anytime, man. Anytime. I'll be more than happy to take you there, show you the facility and all that. It's really,
We could do some
I think,
PKs. We can do some
hell yeah.
PKs.
Hell
Hell
yeah. Or
yes,
do a podcast out there with a player or something. I mean, we'll figure it out.
Dude, yeah.
Let's
dude.
do it. But
With
it's
PKs in between.
PKs in between live. But we did an amazing job of branding the facility. I think it looks better than when the Raiders dipped, but you guys will be the judge of that. And then furthermore, I'm in downtown, man. I'm on right here off Broadway, 14th. I'm out in a new complex out here, and I live a few blocks away from Laney, which is amazing for
I'll
game
be out
days.
there sometimes hooping.
Yeah,
Darrell Wright, he
Yeah.
used to put on some runs over there at Laney College.
yeah, that's right.
And then
Yeah,
we'll do
man, it's a lot of
PKs.
fun.
Me,
No,
me and the
dude.
bro, me and Mike do PKs sometimes on the holidays at Beach
Beach
Chalet, and it starts off fun, right? Like because it's like none of us are like that level soccer, It's like it's just like fun. We will not talk for a month after PKs because it's just going to be like, like bro, that wasn't like it gets out of control quick.
We throw in like running suicides in, like if you miss, like dude, we make it really, really competitive.
Oh, shit. So funny story here, and I'll leave you all with this. I've talked to you guys' ear off.
No,
Is
dude, that's
last
so
year?
sick.
I appreciate it. And last year, dude, we made it to the Western Conference semis against Orange County, and we went to PKs, bro. And
Wow.
talking about PKs, so in the one PK that basically killed it for us was our keeper has to stop this in order for us to go to the finals.
Right.
Or the finals. And bro saves it. He saves it, and we're going crazy. We had a watch party in the Fruitvale, and bro, there's hundreds of people. We're all going nuts, and the ref calls it back.
Bro,
And he calls it back
for
and
coming off the line.
Coming off the line, bro.
Oh,
Bro, are you man? Coming off the line and it was like a half step.
oh.
And then I get home that night and I'm devastated. And I look back at the replays.
Barely.
Every fucking goalie save for that PK run, everyone was hopping off the line.
Oh, that's horrible, dude.
And he called the one that took the game, to a win for us.
Sick.
I'm like, are you serious? So, man, I hate PKs.
Oh yeah,
bro. When Italy just
happen.
won the Euro Cup, that PK was crazy against England because I remember Gigi saves that PK, and we thought England had to shoot again, and then everyone realized that they won it, and then dude, we're going nuts. We're
going crazy.
North Beach is popping off like, bro, it was so sick.
PKs is like.
Bro.
Yeah, dude. Well, and also, hey, if you're ever like playing teams like OC, if you ever need some Bay support, I'm down here in LA. So
okay, you are
reach out anytime, man. And thank you, man. This was a real pleasure having you on, and just like love your story, love what you're doing for the Bay. And it's beautiful, man, for sure.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the time and energy, man. It's a blessing. And again, not many cats know the story because I try to stay in my lane and do my thing and keep my head down because I think the work does the work eventually. So when these things happen, I appreciate it so